They told us this was the most important decision of our lives. I enlisted last month. Went through basic just like everyone else. Nearly got killed by those turrets, but I somehow made it. Luck maybe? Depends on your perspective. They issued me a cape and a destroyer and sent me to the Eastern Front. Bugs. I hate bugs. Mowed those bastards down with my stalwart. Easy enough. We fought hard, but we failed the major order. Super Earth Command had us deploying to the Western Front now. Met a sergeant on Emergent. He told me about his wife back home on Super Earth. She worked in the Ministry of Science. He told me that the Ministry of Employment said he had to complete 100 missions in order to get leave to see his wife again. He was currently on Mission 97. Our objective was to destroy automaton dropships, and this was my first time facing the bots. Our Master Sergeant was a veteran of Malevelon Creek. A creek crawler, they called them. Tough sons of bitches, I call them. We dropped in and... it was a massacre. We tried to take an outpost and an automaton cannon locked onto the sergeant and annihilated him. He wouldn't have been able to be identified even with dental records. The cadet had a hell of a pair on him, but he got splattered by a devastator. The Master Sergeant and I regrouped and coordinated as pods from above fell to the surface of Emergent. Stratagems? No. Helldivers. Wearing the same armor as the men I just witnessed being slaughtered by bots. I said nothing, but I had so many questions. We extracted by the skin of our teeth, returning to the now dead sergeant's destroyer, the Hammer of Glory. The new sergeant assumed command of the ship as we set off on our next mission. The democracy officer on board could tell that something was on my mind, but I avoided him like a bile titan. What was on my mind? Super Earth has trillions of divers at their disposal, but we're expendable, replaceable. They replaced the dead sergeant and cadet before we even knew what had happened. But that sergeant? The one with the wife in the Ministry of Science? He wasn't. Helldivers 2 has been a smash hit across both PC and PlayStation 5, despite Sony's efforts to kneecap this success. It's quite amazing given that the first Helldivers was looked over mostly because of its perspective. I know because I'm one of those people, and boy how I wish there could be more games like Helldivers 2. Not just in the gameplay department either, more on that later. But first, if you'd like to support me and check out a novel from an indie author, hit the link in the description and take a look at my sci-fi military series Blur Havoc. Or if you'd like, check out my Patreon, Subscribestar, or affiliate links. If anything, a like and subscription are enough. It would be much appreciated. For those that are tardy to the party like I was, Helldivers 2 is about an elite military force heralding from Super Earth, who have the sole goal of spreading democracy and freedom across the galaxy. Forcefully, if need be. Bay vs. Optimus is getting a little hot and bothered by this prospect.
We're giving you freedom!
Helldivers takes a lot of cues from Starship Troopers and Halo's ODSTs. The former is something I didn't watch until after playing Helldivers 2, funny enough. It's fascinating just how many sci-fi military franchises pull from Starship Troopers, including my favorite trilogy, the Mass Effect trilogy. But Helldivers takes that satirical edge that Starship Troopers has and turns it up to 11, creating a far more comedic take on this idea. Yeah, Starship Troopers is pretty campy, but Helldivers' comedic angle is deliberate and even amplified. It's the perfect combination of silly and serious. For example, the intro that plays every time you boot up the game. The very first frame of the video has some comedy and world building in it. Just the fact that Super Earth has a Ministry of Truth tells you a lot about Super Earth's authoritarian government. Honestly, this intro is so good, it unironically makes me want to join the Helldivers. If the US military had recruitment ads this good, maybe their numbers wouldn't be so low.
You're not supposed to like the Helldivers. The video is propaganda.
Yes, and it worked. Triple the defense budget. The game also does a great job setting the tone of what kind of experience you're getting into. After you complete your training, where they flatter you with empty compliments, you get your cape and even get a destroyer, a frigate-sized ship that can conduct orbital strikes. Super Earth's military spending is so wild that each individual Helldiver gets a destroyer. That'd be like if the ODSTs from Halo each got their own Pillar of Autumn. You even get to name your ship using a bunch of prefixes and suffixes. My ship is named the SES Elected Representative of the Constitution. Fuck yeah. Then you drop into your first mission and get splattered all over some rocks. That's when I realized that the Helldivers are just ODSTs if they were idiot teenagers. The screen that loads up when going into the tutorial confirms this, as the average Helldiver recruit is around 18 years old. Your Helldiver is promptly replaced by a new one. You are not the finest peacekeeping force in the galaxy. You are completely and utterly expendable. And then you notice that each mission gives you 5 lives per Helldiver in the squad. This is a pool of lives, not 5 lives for each Helldiver. So one guy could hypothetically blow through 17 of them bitches in one mission. And then you realize that friendly fire is on. You can kill each other by accident. Or on purpose. With that, it clicks. The chaos is encouraged. The game essentially says, hey, just have some fun. You'd think this would devolve into team-killing chaotic shenanigans, but because of the rock-solid world-building and immersion, the community plays nearly everything straight. The Helldivers community is all about working together to complete a common goal for the glory of Super Earth and to spread freedom and democracy. A community so strong that this camaraderie spread into the real world. Every few days, the community is given a major order to complete that affects the overarching story of the game. At the time of writing, our major order is to destroy 2 billion with a B automatons to unlock an anti-tank mine stratagem.
This is great and all, but what does this have to do with the title of this video?
Excellent question. These things all come together to create a community-wide story that feels alive. It makes storytellers out of all of us, such as the fall and liberation of Malevelon Creek, an event that consumed a large chunk of Helldivers' attention, so much so that some divers blame the creek crawlers for the failure to complete a major order. Malevelon Creek was before my deployment, however, so all of my understanding of the situation comes from the archives supplied by my ship's democracy officer. Anyways, every mission creates stories that divers tell each other, not as if they are at a water cooler, but as if they had partaken in actual warfare, recounting the lives lost and the blood spilled on the western or eastern front of the war. Such as a mission where divers were tasked with liberating Warsat from the automatons by raising Super Earth flags to spread glorious managed democracy. A space cadet who had seen some action on the Eastern Front against the Terminids was deployed to support a master sergeant and a cadet who were under heavy fire. Upon landing, the space cadet found the murky planet to be engulfed in emerald fog. After giving support, a super citizen was deployed to the operation, one of Super Earth's most regarded ambassadors. It was not easy, but the second Super Earth flag was raised and the objective was complete. But an automaton anti-air encampment was nearby. Taking this out would relieve some stress off of the Pelican and Eagles in the air. The cadet, however, was unaware of the operation and headed for extraction. Just as the encampment was destroyed, the cadet called in the Pelican while most of the squad was over 200 meters away. 2 minutes to cover over 200 meters. The rest of the squad hauled ass to extraction, avoiding the automatons unless they were necessary to confront. The space cadet brought up the rear. As they neared extraction, automaton forces grew in numbers. The shuttle had landed and the cadet immediately got on board, leaving the rest of the squad 20 seconds to get on board. As everyone filed in, the space cadet was still lagging behind, diving past automaton troops to avoid the gunfire. With only 5 seconds to spare, the space cadet dove into the Pelican and the ship took off as an airstrike hit the area, decimating the remaining automaton forces. Or another mission where the space cadet and his team were deep in automaton territory on Marfark. The squad completed the objective, but the Star Marshal in the group pushed for them to clear out the automaton fabricators to speed up the liberation of Marfark. The other two divers only being a regular marshal and a space cadet, they had no place to question the order. They were deep in combat against the automatons and ran out of time. Their destroyers had left orbit, leaving them without their stratagems. They rushed to try and make it to the emergency extraction Pelican, but the extraction point was over 100 meters away. The space cadet put on a brave face and saluted. Shocked by the neophyte's patriotism, the Star Marshal stood next to him and saluted as well. In denial, the Marshal frantically tried to run to the extraction, trudging through deep snow, but they all watched as the Pelican left them on the frozen tundra. The mission and Super Earth come first. These days, only tabletop gaming can give you stories as freeform and varied as this. Despite the Helldivers being idiot kids, their patriotism exceeds their cowardice. They are willing to put their lives on the line for democracy in grand and explosive displays of sacrifice, and that level of patriotism and sacrifice has rubbed off on the players. There are clips all across the internet of divers holding the line to the bitter end, creating unbelievable big damn heroes moments, or sacrificing themselves to stick a 500 kilogram stratagem to a bile titan to complete the mission no matter the cost. One of my favorite clips is this.
Requesting air support. What are you doing? What are you doing? Help!
The camaraderie of the community is unmatched in any game I've seen. It creates little micro stories like this. As with every war story, there are small tragedies and triumphs happening every minute. This clip personally reminds me of the mission in Mass Effect 3, where you have to assist in defusing a Turian bomb on Tuchanka. The Primarch's son sacrifices himself to ensure the bomb is disabled. The falls have the exact same vibe. None of these moments are scripted. They're all during gameplay. It's amazing how a $40 game manages to be more cinematic than statistically all big budget AAA games, and it's by complete accident. There isn't even an actual campaign mode, it's just random missions. How is the industry getting outclassed on nearly all fronts by a AA live service game? The game's meta appeal is the same as Dungeons and Dragons. It's role-playing. Are you actually a femboy elf rogue that wears a black and blue dress with 17 hidden knives in it? No, but you play the role because it's fun. Yes, I was the femboy elf, and I did unspeakable things with Ken from the Barbie movie for hours. Helldivers 2 even has what is effectively a dungeon master, or DM for short, named Joel. He sets up the major orders and tweaks things in the background to try his best to push the galactic war in the direction that would make the best story. Only, I said try his best because there has been at least one time where he designed a major order to be failed, but the Helldivers defiantly fought to succeed in the major order despite this. This game is a prime example of how storytelling can light a fire in all of us. I've never seen so many people roleplay for one game. Even Destiny didn't have such a strong role-playing aspect within its community. There's something so infectious about this game. You can go from getting your asshole eaten out by the Terminids or automatons to hitting the loading screen right before the mission and... I swear it's the music, dude. I can't help but smirk when the French horns start playing as the pod drops. Another thing that the game does that helps players create these unforgettable stories is the fact that the game doesn't constantly take control away from you. I couldn't get into Atomic Heart because the intro to the game takes 25 minutes to get through. You don't get to the core gameplay elements until nearly a half hour into the game. The majority of the intro has you riding a boat and riding backwards in a flying car. If I passively wanted to watch something, I would have popped in a movie. Now, games are just games pretending to be movies. Fucking thanks, Kojima. But Helldivers 2 almost instantly throws you into the very brief tutorial, and after that, you're sent to either the Western or Eastern Front depending on what the current major order is. Within 5 minutes, I'm in the meat of the game and experiencing the best this game has to offer. No unnecessary fluff. It's a game that's eager for you to jump in and engage with everything it has to offer. It wants you to be a part of its story, and so does the rest of the community. This game's story will be similar to Unus Annus. The events will be remembered fondly by those who were there and will be wistfully missed by those who were not. The Malevelon Creek campaign is the first chapter of this sensation. I wasn't there and I missed out on what could have been one of the most unforgettable gaming stories ever. It's extra special because it wasn't an event that the developers Arrowhead Studios engineered or promoted. A section of the community dedicated their time to this theater of war deemed Robot Vietnam. For the first time in gaming, there is FOMO and it feels legitimate. So I have a question. Will you join the Helldivers and be a part of the greatest story ever told?